Is there any knowledge-based evidence for the existence of Allah? The simple and brief answer is that what ilm, knowledge, indicates most is the existence of Allah. You might say, where? Show me Allah, or let me hear him. We respond, you didn't ask, do we see or hear Allah the way we see and hear material objects? For this question, we would have answered, no, of course not. But you asked, does ilm indicate the existence of Allah? Ilm results from mind and senses. Humans are not machines or cameras that take pictures, look at the screen and say, do we see Allah in there? Rather, humans analyze sensory input with their minds and draw conclusions. This process starts in early childhood and advances as one grows older. Even animals make conclusions based on observations and link cause to effect. They know by smell that there is food close by and look for it. Some animals, like dogs, follow scents and look for their source. If you see a bitten apple with marks of human teeth, you know that someone has bitten it. This is ilm, even though you didn't see who bit it. If you hear a song by a captivating voice, you know that someone is singing it. This is ilm, even though you didn't see the singer. Rather, this is necessary knowledge. And because it is so intuitive, people do not call it knowledge. Knowledge is associated with contemplation and analysis, which are not needed in such examples. Everything which begins to exist has a cause. This is a rational, innate, and necessary concept that requires no education or intelligence. We apply the principle of causality in all our actions. We eat because food is a cause for satisfying hunger. We drink water because it is a cause for quenching thirst. We sleep because it is a cause to get rest. We work because it is a cause to earn a living. By the principle of causality, you know that you and the universe have a creator who is an arranger of affairs, who created the universe, prepared it for life, perfected its details, and set its laws. The signs of his competence are observed in yourself and in the universe around you. Thus, the question, is there evidence for the existence of Allah, is an imprecise question, because everything, inescapably, is evidence for Allah. If you enter a house that is not yours, sit on the couch, and eat cooked food on the table in front of you, would you ask, if you're a sane human, is there evidence that a builder built this house, and that someone cooked this food, and someone made this couch? Is there evidence that any of these things were caused by someone? Wouldn't such questions be provocative? Allah says, what can be translated as, say, observe what is in the heavens and earth. But of no avail will be the signs and warners to a people who do not believe. Quran 10:101. The statement, what is in the heavens and earth, is general and inclusive. Everything in them indicates the existence of Allah and his attributes. However, those who have a basic problem with the belief in the unseen will not benefit from this evidence, no matter how obvious and clear. Allah Almighty says, what can be translated as, did they not look into the realm of the heavens and the earth and everything that Allah has created? Quran 7:185. Into the realm of the heavens and the earth, not toward. The preposition into encompasses the contemplation and reflection on the details, which guide you more and more to the Creator, glory be to him. And everything that Allah has created means that everything he has created indicates his existence, glory be to him. Everything he has created is evidence for him, glory be to him. How odd that Allah can be disobeyed or denied, while every movement and every restfulness bears witness for him. The correct question isn't, is there evidence for the existence of a creator? But, is there anything that is not evidence for the creator's existence? And the answer is, no. Ibn Taymiyyah spoke the truth when he said, the more needy people are of something, the more Allah provides of it. Indeed, people's need to know their Lord is the greatest of all needs. So he generously provides them with overwhelming evidence for his existence and many paths to know his attributes. Moreover, one of the names of Allah Almighty is the Manifest. Ibn al-Jawzi wrote in Zad al-Mazir, an interpretation of the ayah, which can be translated as, he is the first and the last, the manifest and the imminent. Quran 57:3. He wrote, Allah is the manifest with his remarkable arguments, his enlightened proofs, and his evidence that show the truth of his oneness. Thus Allah is manifest and can be known through minds and signs. At the same time, he is the imminent because he can't be seen. like the observable things in this world. This is the precise, simple, clear, and deep evidence. All existing things are evidence for the existence of Allah. Nothing you see is random. The structure and movement of all things show that they were created. In other words, they were made with will and competence. Thus, it is impossible for nothing to create them, or for them to create themselves before coming into existence, when they were nothing. Thus, they must definitely have a creator, who has attributes of will, ability, knowledge, wisdom, greatness, and all other attributes indicated by his creation. I could have gone into details to refute the concept of infinite regress and causes, that possibly existent things require the necessarily existent, and that emergent things must go back to an eternal cause. However, I didn't do that because none of it is a part of the fundamental evidence. Again, responses to objections and doubts are not part of the original evidence, but responses to those with flaws that obscure this very clear evidence. So, in the coming episodes, when I explain infinite regress and its impossibility, emergence and eternal existence, you may say, I did not understand anything. No problem. Who said that you need to understand the response to doubts in order to believe in Allah? You can believe in the existence of Allah with a rational innate faith based on solid ILM foundations, without understanding the doubts or their responses. As they say, the most difficult of tasks is to explain the obvious. That is because explaining the obvious is only done with those who argue over necessary truths, which leaves no common ground for discussions and proof. If someone sees the sun in the middle of the day and says, I'm not convinced that there is a sun. Why? Maybe it's a flammable artificial ball placed in front of us. We answer, but how can this ball be suspended in the air? It must be held in place by a rope. And we don't see a rope. He says, maybe it is a transparent rope. So we say, what is this rope attached to? Who moves it? And what type of rope can endure such temperatures without breaking? He says, maybe there is a huge magnet in the ball, with the same charge as a piece of metal hidden in the earth beneath it. The two magnets repel each other and keep the ball suspended. So we start jointly calculating the required mass for such a magnet, and calculating the amount of gravity needed to overcome the magnetic repulsion, etc. Someone listening to our dialogue may say, Oh Allah, all of this is evidence that there is a sun. I thought the matter was obvious. No, this is not evidence for the midday sun. Rather, these are responses to those who deny obvious intuitive things, responses which are not needed, nor are we required to understand them to reach the rational true conclusion that the sun exists. The problem is not whether the sun exists, but in the one denying its existence. Denials and doubts, no matter how numerous, will not change the fact that the sun's existence is an obvious intuitive truth. However, as they say, nothing in the intellect is right if evidence is required for daylight. Yes, we will address in future episodes the doubts raised about the existence of Allah, but everything we'll say will not be part of the evidence, but rather responses to objections raised against the evidence. Mixing up these two things is a mistake, as some people with innate faith, when they hear the responses to doubts, may start to think that the truth of Allah's existence is mysterious and hidden, and that it needs intelligence, philosophy, and complexity, because they don't realize that such discussions aren't part of the evidence for Allah's existence, but rather responses to allegations, and that their complexity is not because the truth of Allah's existence is complex, but because of the complexity of presenting arguments with those who doubt intuitive matters. Therefore, it is necessary and important to separate the evidence for the existence of Allah from the responses to the deniers of this intuitive truth. Moreover, repeated allegations against something do not necessarily mean its weakness. Actually, in the case of the existence of Allah, the numerous repeated doubts reflect the internal struggle of the deniers against this truth, which hounds them and imposes itself upon them. So they reject it with all sorts of allegations to soothe their troubled souls. Do they not look into the realm of the heavens and the earth and everything that Allah has created, and think that perhaps their appointed time has come near? So in what statement hereafter will they believe? Quran translated meaning 7:185. May the peace and mercy of Allah be upon you.